Another useful skill is to learn how to read and write files. It is needed when you have a relatively big size data and when you cannot just type your data into the script. For instance, like this, you define A like a series of integers 1, 4, 3, 5, and B is 2, 5, 3, 1, and then you can say, first we run, of course, and B, and then we say do a t-test, and then it does a t-test, and says that there is no difference. In this case, you don't need any file, data are small, that's okay. You can also get file from online, which is interesting option, or from file on your computer. That's more usual. To practice with the data fetching from online, there is a nice site which is called R Datasets in GitHub.io. This is how it looks. You can scroll through different data and then, for instance, check what is cigarettes. B data is consumption data for cigarettes. It's 46 rows and 3 columns. Where is it? Here. And then you can read the document, what's all about data about cigarette consumption in packs per person of smoking age more than 16 years old, and so on. And if you need the data itself, you can either open and download, or you can say give me a link, and then go to R and say data read CSV and paste cigarettes B and then say run, and then you have it in here. So these are some individuals, I suppose, which smoke this amount of cigarettes for some price, and they probably have some incomes. You have to read more details in the description online. What is important for data import, that it is wrong. So usually the good table is when column names are in gray area and row names, these are obviously row names, are also in a gray area. And if they are not, it means that you have to say over here, oh, that's a very long name, you put comma, new line, it is allowed, and then you say row names. Yeah, this one is 1, and then run again, and then it says okay, now you have it as a row names and these are data, and then again you're ready to do it whatever you want. And for instance, you can ask for a box plot, what's the average packs for price and incomes in each and every table. Box plot data it's a bit clumsy, of course, you better do a zoom It's still clumsy, but reasonable. So you can see that on average it's somewhere around $5 for a price of this number with an income of this number. So you have idea what's the average and go on with this. But the major exercise is, of course, get data from your computer from file. Well, I already explained this part, and indeed download is easier. The problem with the data files of a text type is that there are many different formats. For instance, for value separators, some people use comma or semicolon or space or tabulation. This is tabulation, and you don't know in advance what to do, so it's a sort of trying and seeing what you do. And then, of course, you can read also not a text type but Excel files, although it is more difficult business regarding formats and importing. I will come later. And but standard for regular text type simple data files is TSV is for tab separated and CSV for comma separated, although CSV2 uses usually semicolon separation because they use a comma for decimal symbol, and therefore there are lots of different versions of a function read, which is actually the same function, only different default values. So you pay attention what's the decimal, what's the column, and then pay attention to rows, and you can skip some rows if you like, and that's the whole business. And once you import it, you have to check whether it is correctly imported, and then you have to be able to access all parts of the table as a whole or in parts, then do transpose if you need, sort table by each and every column, divide column and merge different tables in one. In R, all tables look like this, so there is a gray area for row names and column names, and this area of data should be clean, should be dedicated only to the data values, although in some cases it is not the case. So let's move to this case. I created some small files. You always begin with the smaller files. In RStudio, you can always click on any file in directory, you select and see it in a raw format. How does it look? For instance, this particular file, animal CSV, has these columns and these animals as the row names, and the integers is probably number of animal per location, separated by comma. And therefore, if you want to import this file, you say first, of course, set the working directory to the directory where the file is located, and then you say read CSV, animal CSV. Don't forget to say row names is 1. If you don't say it, then unfortunately it will go wrong. I see. Alright, set working directory. Now, yeah. Actually, there is also a good function get working directory. If you're not sure which directory is working, you can always ask, and in this case, of course, it's what I want. It's what is here. Okay, let's go back to data. We did a read CSV. We look at the data. We see that first column is wrong again. It should be in a row names. It should not be in a white area. And therefore I say row names is 1, and now the business is correct. And so it goes for each and every different version. For instance, if here you see there are white areas which are so the next value is achieved with one click on the arrow. It means, although distances are different, it means there is a hidden tabulation symbol here in between. And therefore, for this, you can say header is true, row names is 1, and then sep is a separator is a \t. And then again you check and you see that, oh nice, it is nicely imported. And as soon as it is imported, you can ask what are the column names, like this, and what are the row names, like this. And then of course you can ask what is the first row name. It's a cats, or the first 3, like this. And the same slicing works for entire data, only because data is a 2D data set. You have to do it like this. First 3 rows, then if you want first 3 rows, you put comma after this, and then it will first 3 rows. You see, 1, 2, 3. If you want first 3 columns, you put comma here, and then you have it, first 3 columns. If you have first 3 rows and first 3 columns, logically you write like this, and then it will be nicely first 3 columns, first 3 rows. That's a slicing. Then dim data means you check the dimensions, rows and columns in entire data set. It says 6 by 4. If you ask structure of the data, it gives you a report by columns. It says all 4 columns are integers. Here we are. And then of course you can again ask for a box plot. For data table you can almost always ask for a box plot, and it will do it by columns. And this is more or less the whole art by now.